Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and I know this video was supposed to come out like a week or two ago, but it took a while, and I'm sorry, and this is not the last of me talking about Clone Wars, by the way. I will be doing like a whole overview on the entire series live. I don't know when, probably sometime this week, so I can't really be certain, but today we're just going to be reviewing, talking about just me spewing out my thoughts about Season 7, or the final season. Alright. So, of course, the first story arc of this season was the Bad Batch. It was a pretty good story arc. Of course, they changed some things, like in the original episodes, the Separatists actually test this like vaporizing weapon on a civilian, and also there's the picture of Padme that the Bad Batch has on the side of their ship. They removed that, but they actually replaced it with that pretty interesting scene where Anakin was talking to Padme, uh, like on the hologram thing, and then Obi-Wan sort of said to Anakin, like, I hope you at least said hi to Padme for me, and that's pretty interesting. I mean, it's kind of I wouldn't say it was obvious in the movies, but it's obvious from that Anakin's relationship with Padme is sort of just a not really well kept secret, but I'm pretty sure Obi-Wan didn't think it was going as far as it did. Like, I don't think he knew that they were like married at the end of Attack of the Clones. But the first episode, like, this arc was great. The animation, like, seeing just the animation improve was amazing. And not only seeing the animation improve from, like, the last time we saw Clone Wars, but seeing the animation improve all the way from, when we first saw these episodes in their, like, unfinished form. You can look that up, unfinished Star Wars The Clone Wars episodes. Now the one problem I do have with this is actually that, is with the ending of the arc, and it's not really a problem. I think they did it very well for, what they were doing at Clone Wars now, but, there are some things I will talk about, after I actually talk about this arc. Wrecker, the big buff clone, all the way to the right, yeah, the right, with like the helmet that almost looks like it has like, I don't know what it is on his helmet, but it almost looks like some like Japanese writing, like the two like squares that lines underneath them. I think you know what clone I'm talking about. He lifted a whole gunship, and I mean, because Cody was like under it, it was I hope you guys saw these episodes. I put the spoiler warning in the thumbnail, title, and beginning of the video for a really good for a really good reason. But like, of course, he left the pilots there. He didn't save them. That was like a big thing, almost like a big meme that some Star Wars fans were talking about. But hey, they were dead. And obviously, after he chucked the gunship over him, even if they weren't dead before that, they're definitely dead now. Echo was pretty cool in these episodes. I don't really remember too much from, like, the original unfinished episodes, but I will say Echo's character coming back. I kind of wish this was before Fives' death or something, or maybe Echo and Fives, like, shared that moment. Like, if they could have moved, I'm pretty sure Fives' death was, like, probably supposed to be in the final season, because Fives' death was in, you know, the final episodes of the Clone Wars before it got canceled. But if the Clone Wars didn't get canceled, I swear and I hope, that they would have done it differently. And it does suck that the Clone Wars got canceled before it eventually ended, because I feel that a lot of things would have gone differently. And I'll go in more detail about that later on in this video, and also in the Clone Wars stream, when I'm just discussing Clone Wars. But the Bad Batch's characters, I loved how they actually had a little bit of conflict with the normal clones, sort of like how they're all buffed up and have all these abilities, and then the normal clones are just kind of normies to them. Another thing I liked was Anaxis as a planet. Uh, I never actually realized that Anaxis, the clone base in this story arc, is the same clone base that the rebels. I think it was. It's been a while since I've seen this episode, but I think it was Hera and Sabine went to Anaxis, and it was like an abandoned clone base, and there were like these creatures after them, and they used like the same explosives that Gregor uses, to like blow up the droid shuttle earlier on in the Clone Wars, but then they revisit the Anaxis base when it's like abandoned in Rebels, and there are like I think 2 or 3 episodes that take place there. But I once I realized that, and like you see the creatures from Rebels all the way in like the distance while they're camping. I really liked that. One, keep on tripping up on my words. Yeah, Anaxis was really cool. There was like the Geonosis. In their shuttle, there's like a poster that says Clone History Month with a Geonosis helmet. So that's a nice little Easter egg. I do really wish that there was a scene where we got Echo um reminiscing about Fives, like learning that he's dead. And I wish we got some sort of relation to Fives. Like there's that one scene where Rex is like, I've lost so many brothers in this war, but it's like Echo, who's arguably more like has a bit of a more connection with Fives. Um, arguably he should have been the one to have like a big moment talking about Fives. In fact, I really would have liked to see Echo in the series finale. I at least think that Echo would have been a really cool character to put in Shattered, which is the second to last episode before the season finale. And unfortunately, if he was in the episode, he probably would have died, or maybe died in the season finale. I don't know. He could have been like a really cool. He could have had like really cool interactions with Jesse, but we'll get into that when we talk about those episodes. But it was really cool watching these episodes because it was just such a nice, clean, refreshed. Not sure if uh, refined, I guess you could say, episodes for the Clone Wars, because it felt like your standard Clone Wars formula for like a story arc, but it was done really well with the new animation, a lot more details, a really good script and storyline, and some pretty nice characters with some pretty nice dynamics, and the settings were also cool, like those big like cities that were like above the clouds but like not hovering, sort of reminded me of Cloud City for obvious reasons. And then also when they're talking like to the villagers, like look what the separatists did to like one of our brothers, and they show like Echo, um, who was like all modified with like robotic parts. Like you could see he has like um the arm with like the astromech droid hand crank thing. So like Echo is sort of like really the separatists really did some crap to him because he another thing that's interesting is he was like a source of like an algorithm where the separatists were um like finding Republic strategies and were actually winning the war for a little bit before they got him. And that's a really interesting plot point, in my opinion. It's sort of like that one. Actually, never mind. I was gonna say it's sort of like I forgot his name, but the one guy in Cloud City with like the thing on the back of his head, but it's not exactly like that. It's a bit different. Uh, but these story arcs, it wasn't something like super super unique, but I found it pretty nice. It was a really cool Clone Wars story. Now, one last thing is that we were actually supposed to get another arc with the Bad Batch. They were actually supposed to be recurring characters in Season 7 and Season 8. Yes, Season 8 was originally supposed to be the final season of the Clone Wars. So it does kind of suck only seeing these guys in their first sort of appearance. They were supposed to be recurring characters. In fact, we were supposed to be getting a story arc, or at least a couple episodes, about the Bad Batch on Kashyyyk. That would have been pretty interesting. So anyways, let's move on a bit. Now, we're talking about a arc in the Clone Wars that doesn't feel like Clone Wars. And to be honest, while it does reintroduce, I wouldn't say reintroduce, but it brings back the character of Ahsoka. So while a lot of fans of the Clone Wars were happy to see her, I think a lot of fans in the Clone Wars also unanimously, is that even the right pronunciation or word? Whatever, like all agree that this story arc kind of doesn't fit in the Clone Wars. Like there's only one part that really made me say, "Oh, this is Clone Wars," and that's when Ahsoka's ship, with these sisters, passes by like a Venator on Coruscant, and then Anakin is on that Venator, and you see Admiral Yularen behind him, and then the Admiral Yularen is like, "Hey, are you okay, General Skywalker?" And then General Skywalker definitely like senses Ahsoka, but he says, "Yeah," and that's like probably the only part in this whole arc. Even though they have the Pikes in this arc, they have Kessel, they have obviously Ahsoka, they have like Maul on the hologram, all that stuff. Even like the Mandalorians. That was like the only part that really was like, yeah, this is Star Wars. This is Star Wars: The Clone Wars. This isn't an arc I'm gonna hate on. It was just sort of an obscure thing. Like I know they didn't want to just hop straight into Ahsoka being confronted by Mandalorians and then going straight into Siege of Mandalore, but I kind of wish we got a little more than this. Like, I feel like since this was supposed to be season 7 episodes, maybe we might have gotten like a second arc about Ahsoka. And I think also they mentioned that the Coruscant level where the other two sisters are from, I don't know their names, I'm sorry. I think one of them is like named Kate or something. I don't know. Is actually 1313. And I'm just like, I'm thinking, what if they did a second arc with Ahsoka and these two sisters, and they actually made it centered around, like, they sort of like did another story arc with Boba Fett, just to sort of tell us, like maybe they would set up a storyline with Boba Fett so we get like an idea of what he's doing during episode 3, and like they could have done a really cool 1313 Clone Wars story arc, because it wasn't until recently that I learned how cool 1313 would be as a Star Wars game and a Star Wars story, and I actually really want it now, so I really wish we got that from the Clone Wars. But guys, I'm going to be saying this a lot. I wish, because we were supposed to get an extra season between the Bad Batch and the Siege of Mandalore. The Bad Batch arc was supposed to be the beginning of Season 7, but the Siege of Mandalore was going to be the end of Season 8. So there's a lot of content that we are unfortunately missing, and I really want it for multiple reasons, and I'll slowly get into those, especially when we go closer to the series finale. We got an explanation for the whole Shadow Collective, which was Darth Maul's old crime syndicate, turning into Crimson Dawn. So apparently he made a new one, and the new one is Crimson Dawn, and that's the one we see in Solo. There are 2 connections to Solo in this, which are fine. I didn't hate Solo. The only thing I really hated in Solo was that one droid. And that was really freaking annoying. But anyways, yeah, so that's our first connection to Solo. Darth Maul says to the Pikes, he's like, oh, and also the Kessel, the planet Kessel is another connection to Solo. Even though, obviously, the planet Kessel isn't exclusive to Solo, but I just wanted to point that out. And the Pikes, too. But anyways, just sort of a weird arc. I did like seeing the way that citizens view Jedi, but I feel we could have explored on that point if we got the episodes that we're missing. I don't know. We could have gotten multiple perspectives. And the end of this arc where the sisters basically say, even if you don't know it, you act like a Jedi. Even though they were trying to make that like sort of like a moment for the sisters, where they sort of change your mind about Jedi a little bit, or like they say that and then they like pause for a little bit and then they say at least what we hope they would be. But before they say at least what we would hope they would be, I swear I felt a little tension between those characters. There was a little like yeah, even if you don't really understand, yeah, you're definitely acting like a Jedi. I mean, also, I get it wasn't like a good job to deliver spice. It was not really a good thing. But Rafa, that's her name. She was definitely an idiot for dropping the spice in space or whatever. Also, apparently, the Jedi, there's like this whole thing where the Jedi like unfortunately let the cruiser, like some cruiser, crash into these two sisters' homes and it killed the parents. And then the Jedi go to their house and says, basically, don't grieve, the Force is with them, or some crap like that. And it sort of makes you think of like how all the Force stuff to citizens is just like kind of stupid, I guess you could say. I don't know. It's sort of the only explanation I can really say. I like how they made one like tiny connection with Rebels, in that Sabine Wren's mother, the one Mandalorian with like the yellow markings, is actually a part of Bo-Katan's little like patrol that's with her. And the other one is speculated to actually be the armorer from the Mandalorian. So very interesting. Ooh, okay, we're hopping right into the series finale. Yeah. There's not really much to say about that arc, the other arc. So I guess yeah, we're gonna go straight into talk about the series finale. Dude, the way they did the series, the way they executed, no pun in, or no reference to Order 66 intended, but the way they executed this story arc, bro, with like the openings, sort of like the classic Star Wars movies, and then the one last little like voice line, like little narration by Admiral Yularen, and we see Aayla Secura with Commander Bly in the 327th, and then we see General Grievous, and there's this battle on like a bridge with the 212th and the 501st, and it's a pretty interesting scene. But like, seeing this, it's so good, like with the graphics and just the animation. Wish we got one thing I kind of wanted from this season. I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but I wanted a sort of like how the Bad Batch story arc on Kashyyyk would set up the Battle of Kashyyyk a little bit, and then there was this other story arc that was kind of gonna set up that the Separatists were interested in the planet Utapau. I really wish we got a arc on Felucia, a arc, basically an arc on all the planets we see during Order 66, and also we see this guy in the scene, and it's like General Grievous doesn't have anything important in these episodes, and obviously because it's taking place at the same time as episode 3, but like, I really wish we got more episodes where we could have gotten a lot of potential with that. But anyways, the battle here, as I said, was pretty cool. Where R2-D2 tells all the rocket troopers like to hold on a bit. Also, one thing I freaking forgot to say about the Bad Batch arc. all the way to the Bad Batch arc, is that we see a look at these clone troopers with Mace Windu with like dark red markings, sort of like the ones we see in the Battle of Ryloth, or the Siege of Ryloth. And a lot of people are saying, that the 187th Legion, which is not Darth Maul, jeez, who is, forgot his name, the Jedi with the purple lightsaber, Mace Windu, his Legion, they say that they're not canon anymore, and sure, the old design of the 187th troopers with, like, the purple shock troopers with, like, gray highlights, of course, that's not canon anymore, unfortunately, unless they decide to undo that. But, the 187th, I'm pretty sure, still exists. They just have a different color scheme, which is, like, this dark reddish little tiny bit of purple. I don't have a picture of it, but there are a lot of people saying that the troopers that we see in Anaxis with that color scheme are actually 91st Recon troopers. I'm like, no, they're literally just like a new version of 187th clone troopers. So anyways, we finally get to the reunion part where Ahsoka reunites with Anakin, and it's sad because we all know that soon the alarm's gonna be blailing, and as I say, Chancellor Palpatine has been kidnapped or whatever by General Grievous, and did I just say General Palpatine? Chancellor. Jeez, I'm recording this like 2, and I'm uploading it even earlier. Right. Anyways, I just want to go to sleep. But anyways, one thing, they also do say that they lost connection with Shaak Ti, or like Shaak Ti was sent to rescue him. So I guess you can actually say that the final like episodes of the original Clone Wars miniseries, the one where it actually shows what happens on Coruscant, I guess you could say those final episodes in Coruscant are actually canon. Because another thing I kind of wished from this show, and I know I'm saying that a lot, guys, I love this show, okay? I absolutely love what they did with it, but I'm just saying my honest opinion, and that is that I just wish that we got more from this show before we got its finale with Order 66 and all the clones really turning on our main characters. I wish we got more classic Clone Wars, and it's not too much for me to ask because, that's what we were originally supposed to get. So even though Clone Wars was brought back for an amazing finale, don't act like there's nothing that we missed, because even if some of my ideas I'm coming up with were never going to be in the show, there was going to be a lot more that was. So it's a little sad. But I do like this final reunion, and it's a little sad. It's very sad, considering that the next time Ahsoka will see Anakin is that fight where Ahsoka's fighting Darth Vader in Rebels. Really wish Clone Wars finished before Rebels, so there was actual tension in these final episodes. I gotta say that. Just, to keep the mystery. Anyways, Siege of Mandalore, it was really cool. Did not let me down. It's kind of mind-blowing that this is happening at the same time as episode 3. I don't know, man. It's crazy that we're getting Clone Wars episodes overlapping with episode 3. And I'm definitely cringing at my old Lego creation. I'm calling it old now, even though it was only I was only working on it like a year ago, and I showed it off at Brick Fair last August. But I'm calling it old now just because it's old in terms of what I can do now. But I made this Lego creation of the Siege of Mandalore, and oh my god. Even though the Clone Wars episodes are so great, I want to redo it. It's so bad and so inaccurate. But then we get the episode where basically, also we get Captain Rex gets promoted to Commander. That is a big deal for me. I love little details in Star Wars. And then I'm guessing I'm guessing this is how the 501st ranking went. So, of course, at first it was General Skywalker, Commander Tano or Ahsoka, and then Captain Rex. I'm guessing Lieutenant Vaughn, and then Sergeant Jesse. But then, of course, Captain Rex gets promoted to Commander, so it's Commander Rex, Captain Vaughn, Lieutenant Jesse. I don't know who's the sergeant. That's never said. Not that it really 100% needs to, but I think like one clone trooper on the comms in the finale where Darth Maul's like ripping apart the ship. I think one of the clones on the comms says something about a sergeant, but I'm not sure. But I'm nitpicking at that point about little details. But anyways, this episode where Darth Maul talks about Skywalker, it was just such a unique dynamic in my opinion. How Darth Maul like knew that something was gonna happen. He kind of foresaw Episode 3 in a way, and it was weird how he didn't only want Obi-Wan to come to Mandalore because he hates Obi-Wan, but he actually wanted him to be there to stop the threat of Skywalker. And I thought that was interesting because there's even a chance that maybe Darth Maul might have actually been like willing to team up with Obi-Wan to go against Anakin to stop Palpatine. Like, just the fact that he would have been willing to put that aside is really important. And Ahsoka obviously doesn't take to that well. And when Darth Maul starts screaming, "We're all gonna, you're all gonna burn, we're all gonna die," as he's being captured. Oh my god. It was great. And then also when Obi-Wan and Ahsoka are talking, and then like Obi-Wan is like, "Do you want to leave a message for Skywalker or something?" And then she says, "No, I'll talk to him in person." Obviously not gonna happen, unfortunately, and pretty sad. And then Obi-Wan is like, "Freaking Count Dooku has died," and I'm like, damn, they're really going into Episode 3. Alright. Also, they finished that one scene where Ahsoka's talking with the rest of the Jedi, and they finished the scene from Episode 3 where like all the Jedi are talking, because it kind of cuts off with like another scene starting, and it's like Kanan Jarrus and his master is there from Rebels, and then there's the whole discussion with Yoda and Ahsoka, and Mace Windu's kind of mean. I wouldn't say mean, but a bit of a mind my language here, but a bit of a dick. With Ahsoka as he kind of is in the prequels, to be 100% honest. But anyways, Ahsoka kind of tells Yoda that she's gonna save any message for Anakin for when they meet. Obviously, really sad. Maybe even that would have maybe calmed down Anakin. And then also, Captain Rex is like, "Palpatine has sent us like our newest briefing." And then Ahsoka's like, "You can go, I'm not really gonna hear." And the fact that she could have been there to witness Order 66 would have been crazy. But what actually happened is, I'm not gonna even go, I'm kind of doing these videos assuming you've watched the episodes, because you really should. This is not supposed to be like a replacement for watching the episodes, so I'm just gonna say my opinion on it. It was crazy. Like, it's nothing like what we heard in Rebels. Like, Rex actually obeyed it. Until eventually Ahsoka took off his chip, and then, this is actually when he's shooting at when he's shooting at her, and he's telling her, like, to find fives. But I also kind of take that as he's telling himself to find fives, like, to sort of, like, stop himself, like, telling himself to find fives, and what fives told him. And Captain Rex has been a really great part of these finale episodes, and will continue to be. But anyways, of course, he ends up shooting some of his own men, which was really interesting. And also Ahsoka lets Maul go as a diversion, and then back right here. Maul as a diversion in the hallway a lot of people have said this, but it's like the Darth Vader thing in Rogue One, and that is so interesting, and I like it. Um, I don't have a similar opinion to Darth Maul destroying the hyperdrive. I don't really like that, and I'll get into it. But anyways, Rex, unlike Ahsoka, Rex has an understanding of what it like felt to be a clone trooper under complete command of this order, or yeah, you know what I mean. And while Ahsoka sort of has a lot more optimism, I guess you could say, Rex is sort of like, nah, they don't really care if we die, or they don't really care if they die as long as we're dead, and he really gets it more. And then of course Maul destroys the hyperdrive in the finale, and it's just I've never really liked brute characters like the big strong guy of like every single show, and Darth Maul was interesting for me up until this point, because at this point he was just the a bit of a comic book villain, and a lot of people like the scene because it's unique and the effects are good. But it's just, even though technically he's not a brute character, it just made me get that vibe. I don't really like that. And then, like, he sort of screams at Ahsoka, "You wanted this chaos," all because, she didn't accept the fact that Anakin would become Vader and all that. Which is interesting, but to be honest, in this last episode, Shattered, Darth Maul wasn't interesting at all. He didn't really need to be, but I'm just saying. And then, of course, as the Venator's going down, they see all the clones like lined up to try to stop them from escaping, and Jesse right here actually becomes the villain. He's like a Disney twist villain, but actually cool, and it makes a really sad dynamic. And Ahsoka takes off Rex's helmet after Rex says, like, basically they don't care about their lives as long as we're dead, and like he gets it, and he's like really talking to Ahsoka, like, kind of, I hate to say it, like, we need to kill them. Not exactly like that, but Rex is really torn because Rex sort of seems a little hell-bent on the fact that they really need to be a bit more on the offensive instead of the defensive. But then once Ahsoka takes off his helmet, you realize that Rex is actually a lot more torn, and he's literally crying, which, I mean, I can't say I wasn't in the scene while this scene was playing. It's really, really freaking good, this last episode. So, of course, Maul escapes on the shuttle, and then they actually they escape on a Y-wing, and they land where the Venator landed, and they actually make this little memorial for all the clones, and it's sad, eerie, and just really sad and depressing, just all those negative emotions at the same time. And the music was amazing. Oh my god, the music was amazing. And it's really, as a fan of clones really changed in these episodes. And one of the things that I wish we got more of before Clone Wars ended were the clones. And because once this episode came down, like, I guess you could say for a while, I wouldn't really look at like a Lego clone trooper the same. I know that sounds really weird and stupid, but like, of course now, I've gotten over it a bit with Order 66, and just how the clones basically became like mindless drones in these last episodes. But Rex and Ahsoka sort of, they see through the fact that the clones had no choice, and they make this memorial, and it's really sad, and it's sort of the when Rex and Ahsoka, the last time they see each other is this really sad time, and you can definitely see Rex is not happy about this. Rex is really kind of torn. He's like, Ahsoka's my friend, but also we lost all these brothers over this, and he's kind of right, but obviously they wouldn't care, and they were also going against him. It's just a really bad situation for him. It's like the worst nightmare come to life for him, and also me, because I love clones, and this was really sad. Anyways, final scene, let's get it. Vader goes to the wreckage with all the Imperial troops, and my god, the Imperial designs in this episode were so much better than Rebels. I wish this happened before Rebels. Imagine seeing this before seeing Vader in Rebels, and then Vader or Anakin. I like to think, also, by the way, I like to think this is pretty early on. I wouldn't say early on. Like, people are literally saying this is probably like 2 weeks after episode 3. I'm like, no, this is at least maybe a year, maybe, maybe a few months at the least. But, like, a lot of people are also saying that this is like the last time that one of the last straws for Anakin really going to the dark side. Of course, before he realizes his son is his son is alive. But like, he picks up the lightsaber he made for Ahsoka, and the music is great. And then he looks up at like the light side bird, and it's so weird how basically the villain and hero of Star Wars, but at this point a villain who is just like completely down the path of darkness, looks up and he literally sees the light side looking at him. Like, he, not even like a ghost or anything, like he literally sees the literal light side, which is the one, like the daughter from Mortis. And you can also see his eyes a bit. It's just so great quality animation. And then the final shot, the Clone Wars with this clone helmet. Someone once said, also, I love how Darth Vader, since he's like bad, he kind of only cared about Ahsoka. Like his caringness for like just life sort of went down since he became a Sith. So like, he's not even like looking at any of the clone memorials. He kind of just ignores it. And this last shot, someone once like said, I heard it on a video once, that it was like almost to show how disposable the clones were in the Sith Grand Plan. And I find that very interesting. And this also, I feel like the arts, I'm sorry about like this whole like HUD here for Google Slides, but it almost looks like the art style changed like a painting. Like, tell me that it didn't instantly look like a painting in this, at this frame. But like, the Clone Wars ending was stunning, guys. I loved it. You guys probably loved it. And yeah, I hope that we continue to get great things from Star Wars like this. One last thing, a lot of people are saying more Clone Wars. If we were to get more Clone Wars, they would probably a lot of people are literally saying they're going to continue Clone Wars. I don't think that, but I do think that they might go in between the Siege of Mandalore arc, and the final arc, and the Ahsoka with the sisters arc, and they might actually like do season 7 and then season 8, like they were originally going to do. I think that's the only way we could ever be expecting more Clone Wars content. I also hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, as it supports me a lot without you having to pay a thing. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which hopefully won't be as long and drawn out as this one.